right, I think that's about 10 seconds. So good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the City of Mount Vernon City Council study session for December 16, 2020 to order. The time is now 6:05. Apologize for a little bit of a late start, having some connectivity issues we hope to resolve as we move through the agenda. So for City Council members, item A tonight is the approval of agreement number 3973, which you would have found in your packet.
I would like to move for approval. Sorry, did I step on your toes, Mark? I apologize.
No, that's okay. I couldn't get my microphone unmuted. So
Neither could
I'll second.
All right, so we have a motion by Mary and a second by Mark. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries. Thank you so much. All right, next up on our agenda is a Development Services Committee update. So we have Director Chris Phillips here to give council an update. Go ahead, Chris.
Thanks, Mayor. Good evening, council and prospective council members. I'm going to share my screen right now. I just have just a brief update for you here, and we'll fill in with any questions that you may have. So I just wanted to provide a project update. We've got really some exciting news as it relates to downtown. We've had a few of our TIs that have been worked on for almost a little over a year and a half that are spaces that are for rent at the current time on First Street. So that's good news. We also have this first, if you look here on the left-hand side, 514 South First Street. This is right next to Christian Carlson's business. We've got two live-work owner spaces. They've revised front elevations and subject to design review board, but they've made it through our pre-application process and our permitting, or they're starting into the permitting submittal process. But you'll be seeing those worked on over the next, in the new year. And again, no issues so far. They've had a very good architect that's been working with them, and submittals look to be, right in line with what we need to do for our electronic plan review. The second, and this is dealing with 508 Second Street, the old telephone building over there. We've had a few folks that have looked at this over it's coming up on 4 years of me being here at the city. 4 years here with the city. This group is looking to complete a remodel, addition, 5 new multifamily units that are in there. New parking, again, as we put in here, dumpster enclosure, roof deck. Again, this is still subject to design review board for downtown, SEPA, site plan approval, then building, fire, and engineering permits. But again, pre-app has been completed, and that is something that's exciting as we move forward here into the new year. And the next slide.
Hey, Chris.
Oh, yes, I'll wait here. Yes, sir.
Just note that you mentioned TIs. TIs are tenant improvements, right?
Correct. So there are 2 tenant improvements that are further south on First Street on the right-hand side that work has been completed on one. I walked by it yesterday. It's got a for rent sign in there. It also has, or was planning to have, a live workspace up on the 2nd floor. And then there's one other that's down in that location as well. The next project update, there's a few things going on here. One is the current location for grocery outlet. They're looking to move over off of Urban Avenue and College Way. It would be on the north side of College Way there. Basically, what we had going on was the applicant had one set of folks that were working on the interior tenant improvement, and another group that was submitting permits for the exterior. We had a meeting on Monday with both groups and the ownership to ensure that they know that it would be best, since this will, by having 2 separate folks or 2 separate groups working here, it really makes it difficult because the interior site plan affects the exterior site plan and vice versa. So it would be nice that they synergize their efforts. They are working on that, and they are going to be working through the submittal process here in early 2021. Again, traffic concurrency needs to be completed for as part of that tenant improvement or renovation over there prior to moving in. So again, still some work to be done, but it was a very good conversation with all parties there to ensure that they understood and had a good way ahead. And then lastly here is just that the ICC codes are being updated. That's the International Code Commission. You've got building code, fire code, mechanical code, plumbing code, all of the codes that affect our particular department every 3 years get updated. This one was supposed to be updated in 2020, but because of COVID, they pushed this back until basically the March timeframe or first quarter of 2021. But there are a few hoops that my staff needs to go through with getting Development Services Committee meetings to get you up to speed on all the changes that are associated with that. Over the probably in the month of January, we'll get in there, and then we'll work it through the Planning Commission, and once through the Planning Commission, back to the City Council for their recommendations and approval. And with that, that concludes my update, pending any questions.
Any questions for Chris about things you've seen around town or projects? Okay, great. Thanks, Chris.
Sure thing, Mayor.
Can I ask a different question?
Sure, go ahead.
Oh, great. So I think we all know that there's a lot of projects and activities and studies that have that are in development services, and it's been a little hard to do much in the last few months, of course. So I think there's some pent up interest and work for that team this year. I'm just real curious to see that full list, sort of work plan list, and how those things are going to be scheduled and when we can anticipate some of the activities coming back to us. So I'm wondering maybe at the next meeting if we could kind of see that full picture, kind of see everything on your plate.
We could work on something, although people are on vacation. And so
Right.
We'll fit it in the next meeting that we can possibly fit it in at. And I would say, in January for sure, we'll have some discussions about going back to, are we going to be doing committee type meetings and then having it on our regularly scheduled by code weeks. And so we'll do our very best to get you an update as soon as we can.
And Mayor, just to add on to that is you will see the work plan coming to you. I mean, it's 2020 or in February 2021. Usually it's the second meeting in February that you'll have before you discussions as far as that development services work plan. So we'll be working that through in January as well as February. And as you all know, we've recently had a new hire for our senior planner position. That is Mary Ann Ailes Miles. She has been with the city for a number of years as a contractor. She's now a full-time employee. So instead of having her for 14 to 18 hours a week, we got her for 40. So I would, myself, Rebecca, and Mary Ann, her first day of work will be on the 4th of January to sit down, take a look at all the work that we do have planned, and sit down with the mayor, and we'll be bringing it back to y'all. It's an exciting time, to be honest with you. That's wonderful that we have that position in there, and I know the synergy between Mary Ann and Rebecca is very good. I see my filler is no longer needed. With that, I will say Merry Christmas, Feliz Navidad, have a prosperous New Year, Prospero Nuevo, and we will see you in the new year. Hi, Gary.
Thank you.
Bye, Gary.
Thanks, Chris.
You're very welcome. Yes, ma'am.
All right. Because I would like to give Peter and Gary a minute to just take breath before we launch into our forum. I thought one thing we could update you on was some of the legislative activity that's going on, knowing that legislature hasn't begun. They start their session in on January 11. However, there's been lots of activity and communication around our legislative representatives, specifically in the 40th, that have been working on bills and sharing with lots of people. So I'll give you just a quick recap of what I know about what's going on through the AWC board meeting last Friday. It looks like the legislature is looking at a $2 to $3 billion shortfall in their funding unless other funding mechanisms come into play during the session. And so in a way, I know that's a B with the for billion, but they were looking at double-digit billions before. And so that's kind of what they're starting in with on not only capital projects, but also funding for just state services. As we all probably understand, the Democratic Party does have majorities in both houses. They have indicated that their policy priorities are as follows. COVID-19 response and relief. And so the governor's office has shared funding with municipalities through the CARES Act. And so we're hoping that shared funding will continue. New progressive revenue options. I think you could read into that that's carbon tax proposals that are coming. Several different bills are going to be proposed. There's police reforms, which we've been keeping a very close eye on, housing, climate change, and childcare. The campus in Olympia is going to be closed during session, and so they're using the Zoom platform for all public engagement, including all public hearings. And those of you that have been serving for a while know that to drive 3 hours to Olympia to make 3 minutes of comment and drive 3 hours back, well, we absolutely do it because we need our voice to be heard. It is a challenge for us. For those on the east side, when it's a 5 and 6 hour drive, it's a huge barrier to have your voice heard in Olympia. So to have this remote testimony, I think will be exciting. The legislature is planning for an exponential growth in public comment because of that access. And so that's something that they're planning around. Again, session starts on January 11. I believe one caucus is asking their members to introduce no more than 7 bills during this time, which, as you know, there's hundreds of bills that are introduced every year. And so we'll just kind of see as the legislature takes shape how the session will work and what subjects they'll be working on. Thank you so much to Richard, Mark, and Mary for working on some legislative priorities to bring back to City Council. I just sent back a second draft for them today to look at, so we'll be bringing it back to the full council. I'm thinking at the next meeting, but we'll see. Looks like this. Again, nothing really new that you haven't seen before. Really financial support to the cities and sharing revenue to making sure we're working together. We're addressing ideas for economic stimulus grants, knowing that some of the funding, they're going to want to try and do stimulus and catalyst projects. Helping our most vulnerable residents, of course, as we've been saying that for years, in helping with partner with homelessness and housing issues. We want to weigh in on police reform and then some broadband infrastructure. So more to come on that, but that's just a snapshot. And hopefully, if there's Mark or Richard or Mary want to weigh in any more on that, please chime in, but more to come. Okay. Great, thank you. All right, Peter, did you catch your breath?
Just barely caught my breath. Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to confirm also that you can hear me.
We can hear you, yeah.
All right.
All right, thanks, Gary, for coming down. All right, item C tonight is an exciting agenda item. It is our City Council Ward 1 Candidate Forum. And Peter Donovan is going to facilitate this, but I just wanted to take this moment to welcome and thank all of the candidates for being willing to serve. We're so excited to have 8 of you. And so I'll turn it over to Peter. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor. My name is Peter Donovan. I'm going to be handling the moderator duties tonight so that our mayor and city council members are free to focus their attention on our candidates. So before we get to know our candidates tonight, let's meet our current council members, in case you haven't seen or heard from them for a while. From Ward 1, hello to, council members, if you'd unmute and say hello so we could get you on screen. Hi, Iris.
Hi, hello.
And from Ward 2, hello to council member. Hello to council member Mark Holst.
I just wanted
Ward
to
2.
say hello and thank you for applying. And
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the candidates that are seeking to fill the vacancy. We're glad to have you here this evening.
Thank you, Councilmember Hulse. Also from Ward 2, hello to Councilmember Gary Molinar.
Good evening. Thank you for your patience. I was at home and now I'm here down at City Hall. Hopefully we stay connected. Thank you.
Where the connection never fails.
Oh, yes. Fiber.
From Ward 3, Councilmember Melissa Beaton. Hi, Melissa.
Hi, everyone. Welcome.
Also from Ward 3, Councilmember Mary Hudson. Hi, Mary.
Good evening, everybody. Hello. Thank you so much for putting your names in the hat, if you will, for this position. We're very appreciative and welcome you all tonight.
And our city's at-large council member. Hello to Councilmember Richard Brocksmith.
Hello, everybody. Good evening, and thank you. Appreciate meeting some of you virtually tonight.
And of course, Mayor Boudreau is joining us tonight. Hello, Mayor Boudreau.
Hello again.
All right, so the reason for this forum tonight is to provide an opportunity for Mount Vernon residents and city council members to meet the 8 candidates who have applied to fill a position that was vacated when Ward 1 Councilmember Erin Moberg announced her resignation in October. Of course, our thoughts are with Erin and her family tonight as we recall the outstanding job that she did representing Ward 1. The next person in that seat certainly has some big shoes to fill. By city code, the remaining city council members may appoint a qualified Mount Vernon resident to fill a vacant position. And then once appointed, the new council member will serve until the voters choose a candidate in next November's election. So the appointed council member will have the option of running for office for this same Ward 1 position next fall. So this provides an opportunity for the public to sort of confirm council's selection. There is no real prescribed process for council to follow in their selection of a replacement. And so our existing city council members have really made every effort to implement a fair and equitable process by which they will seek to fill that currently vacant Ward 1 position. The candidates who are joining us tonight have answered City Council's invitation for residents who live within the limits of Ward 1. They have all sent in applications and other materials to council to review so that council members would have a chance to get to know them and get to know a little bit about each one of them. And then tonight's forum is going to give our council members the opportunity to ask questions of each candidate and to get to know them even better. So unfortunately, we're unable to meet together in one place. So we will be navigating the dicey waters of virtual meeting technology. And with that, we thank all of our viewers and participants for your grace and patience, as we already have fumbled with our mute buttons and background interruptions and internet connection delays. So hopefully without further ado, let's meet all 8 of our candidates tonight. This will be their first technology test as they unmute to say hello. We're going to say hello to each of them. Hello, Shelley Acero.
Hello.
Hello to Travis Alexander.
Good evening.
Hello, Vicky Archer.
Hello.
Hi to Melissa Holland.
Hello.
Hello, Kevin Moss.
Hello.
Hello, Juan Morales.
Hello.
Hello to Navor Cicero.
Good evening.
And hello to John Wallig.
Everybody, did that work?
That worked well.
All right, I got this down.
Yeah. Our format tonight will be for the mayor and our 6 existing city council members to ask questions that they've come up with. The candidates have not seen the questions, and each candidate has been randomly assigned a number, and the order in which questions will be asked has also been randomly generated. The goal here is that since this is a group interview, we're asking the same questions of all the candidates. And so we're hoping that each candidate will have the opportunity to be first just one time to answer a question from council. Candidates, you will have 1 minute to respond to questions, and we've added a countdown timer to help you stay on track. So please keep an eye on the clock. And once the timer screen turns red and says stop, your time is up. And out of fairness and respect to the other candidates, we would ask that you bring your comments to an immediate close. And if that proves to be too difficult, or if things otherwise get out of hand, they did give me a mute button here, so I am not afraid to use this. I don't anticipate needing to, however. So before we begin the forum, candidates, do you have any questions about the process? All right, hearing no questions from the candidates. Mayor Boudreau, council members, do you have anything that you would like to add before we begin? All right, great. Let's begin by having each candidate take 60 seconds for an introduction and to say something that you'd like council to know about yourself. We're going to do this first section in alphabetical order by last name. So that means that Shelly Acero is going to be the first to introduce herself and take a little bit of time to share something about yourself. And the 60-second timer is ready, so I know you'll be watching that. Shelly.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Shelly Acero. I have been married for 44 years. I have 2 adult sons, 5 amazing grandchildren. I have lived in Mount Vernon for a little over 40 years, and I've seen a lot of changes in our community over that period of time. I have a personal philosophy, which is that you don't just belong, you participate. And I've tried to live my life accordingly. I've worked in local government for approximately 30 years, both for Skagit County and the city of Burlington currently, where I serve as risk manager and senior paralegal. I think one of my things that I would want to say is I would have an understanding of local government, and so I'd be able to hit the ground running on this because of a shortened learning curve, having worked in municipal government, and I welcome the opportunity.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Shelly. Travis Alexander, welcome.
Yes, good evening. Thank you for this opportunity. I want to thank those who helped put together this event. Thank you for all your work going into this. My name is Travis Robert Alexander. I have a 2-year-old son, so it's been quite the experience this last year. I have a wife, in-laws, and my family all live in Mount Vernon, so I definitely call this home, and I intend on living here for a long time. I work as a faculty at Skagit Valley College, so I love to educate. My personal philosophy would be that really 3 key qualities or characteristics of a representative. They should be able to listen respectfully and weigh different options or opinions. They have a determination to look for what's best for the community, not just their ward or their friend or neighbor. And they have a willingness to devote a lot of time to this. And again, I thank you all for being so excited to serve the public.
Thanks, Travis. Vicky Archer, welcome.
Hi, and good evening. I was born and raised in Mount Vernon and am the youngest of 6 daughters. In fact, for the longest time, I actually thought my name was Peggy, Bonnie, Donna, Glenda, Linda, Vicky. I returned home to Bloom, where I was planted after graduating from the University of Oregon. I organized and founded the Skagit Symphony, created Northwest Academy of the Musical Arts, which was home to a musical preschool, summer camp, and arts academy. I've worked with a multitude of age groups, cultural backgrounds, and financial situations. I always have tried to treat people with respect and value their input and expertise. As a single mother of 3 terrific daughters and son-in-laws, I know we have been privileged to have had continued employment. My heart goes out to those who are facing uncertainty about work, food, and shelter. I have 8 incredible grandchildren, but our plate is full with issues of a lost school year. I can ask the hard question, but I'll serve with respect and professionalism.
Thank you, Vicky. Welcome. And welcome and hello to Melissa Holland.
Well, hello. My name is Melissa. I actually am from Michigan, and I moved to Seattle to study architecture at the UW. And I lived in Seattle until 2009 and chose to move up to Mount Vernon to build a home. Mount Vernon really appealed to me because it reminded me of my home in Michigan. I lived in a farm area, and this town really is very similar to that, and it's got that small town community feel, and just love the character of the city. I work as an architect in Seattle, and I do school design, 100% school design, and it's something that I love. I love working with the public. I love working with school districts. I have a little bit, I have experience presenting to school districts and presenting the projects to the public. And so I can't say that I have experience in this city planning, but I have the knowledge to work here. Thank you.
Thanks for participating, Melissa. Kevin Moss, you are up next. Welcome.
Madam Mayor, council members, thank you for considering my application. I live on the south edge of Mount Vernon. Been here most of my life and finally settled here about 9 years ago. With the farmland within view, I ended up working in renewable energy and agriculture, specifically making electricity from manure. I've been doing that for about 12 years now. And so, yeah, a company called Farm Power. I do a little solar work. I've done a little bit of teaching, and I'm also working on a small sustainable housing development also on the south edge of Mount Vernon. Married with 2 young children, and I cede my time.
Thanks, Kevin. All right, Juan Morales, welcome.
Hello. Hello, I'm Juan Morales, and I have called the city of Mount Vernon my birthplace and home for the last 25 years. This city is very important to me. It is a place that my parents decided to settle and raise their family in after several years of laborious migrant work across the country. 25 years later, I'm here before you, trying to show you how much I really care about my home. As a kid, I never saw why my parents chose Mount Vernon to call home. As an adult, I now recognize the epicenter of geographical beauty we are in. An hour to the south, you're in the metropolis. An hour to the north, you're in a different country. An hour east, you can be in the Cascades. And an hour west, assuming you know how to swim, you can be in the water with the orcas. I'm here to demonstrate my willingness to work with all of you, the city, because I genuinely care about this place and the people that are in it.
Thank you, Juan. Welcome again. Navor Tesoro, hello to you and welcome.
Thank you for this opportunity to speak with each one of you. Wow, what a great cross-section of our city that we have here in this slate of candidates. I do not envy you guys your decision that you have to make out of all of these great candidates. My name is Navor, again, Navor Tesoro. Lived here in Mount Vernon for about 23 years, 4 children, married with 4 children, 22, 21, and 17 and 5. So yeah, we've enjoyed living here, being part of this community. I am a small business owner. I actually have a business as an upholstery repair business, working for a lot of different used car lots, boat lots, RV lots. But it's a family business. My dad started it 26 years ago. So yeah, my passion is economic development, helping small businesses gain the resources they need in order to be successful. And I've worked with a varied organizations and associations throughout our county here and throughout the state. And that's my passion, is to see Mount Vernon attract employers and small businesses here to our area.
All right, thank you, Navor. Welcome. And finally, John Wallach, you probably have to wait at the end of a lot of lists like this. I apologize. Well, I tell you what, candidates in the closing, we'll flip it and we'll go reverse alphabetical order for the closing. John, welcome.
Thank you for having us all here. It is quite a collection of people. I'm also a newer transplant. My wife and I moved here from Milwaukee, July 2nd of 2019. A little bit about my background. I was a software engineer. That's my profession. I retired about 10 years ago. In addition to being a part of that software company, I also have been a landlord since my mid-20s, running the landlord business, software company, and also I owned and operated a retail store. while being a full single parent. So to say the least, I can handle a lot of different things at one time. I've been known as a workaholic. I'm kind of a person that gets things done. We fell in love with this area when visiting our son-in-law and daughter in Seattle, and decided this is where we want to retire. And we've invested quite a bit of our life here and plan to stay for a long time. And I want to get involved and learn a lot about this community. I felt this would be the fastest way to learn.
You're muted, Peter.
Thanks, John. Thank you, Mayor. Welcome again to each of you. Thank you for your courage and your willingness to serve our city in this capacity. Let's jump into the question and response portion of the forum. The mayor and each council member have come up with questions that they would like to have each of you respond to. Again, the order of responses has been randomized. And asking the first question tonight is Council Member Gary Molinar. Council Member Molinar, your question, please.
Good evening. I'm going to start out with this one. And again, thank you for all being here tonight. Question is, what one word would you use to describe what our city means to you and why?
Okay, one word that would describe what our city means to you and why, and this is the order that we'll go in. First, Shelley, then Melissa, Kevin, Travis, Juan, Navor, John, Vicky. So we'll start with Shelley, and I will remind you of that order when she's done. Go ahead, Shelley.
That's hard to say one word. I think it was Melissa who said community, and that's basically the word that describes Mount Vernon to me. We have a lot to offer here in Mount Vernon. We've got great park system, we've got essential services, we've got shopping, we've got just a variety of things that people can do, good trails. As you look around, there's a lot that the city of Mount Vernon offers. I love downtown Mount Vernon corridor that you can go and it feels very homey. And I just think that it offers a sense of community. And to me, that's what Mount Vernon is, community.
Great, thank you, Shelley. Melissa, Holland, you're next.
Okay, I would say that the town feels welcoming to me. I also love downtown Mount Vernon, and we have the river walk, and it's just an encouragement for visitors to come and experience the town that we all get to live in. You have the food co-op, and all as people are traveling up and down I-5, it's a stop where if they're fueling up to go on a hike and whatnot. And so everybody knows Mount Vernon. And I just feel like we're all lucky because we get to call it our home. And also the people in it, being a smaller town, you get to know a lot of people that you might not know if you lived in a bigger town like Seattle, and different types of people. So when I lived in Seattle, I only knew architects, but here I know all sorts of people, and it's makes for a much more enriching life.
Thank you, Melissa. Okay, Kevin Moss, you're up next. What one word would you use to describe what our city means to you?
I would say ground, but more specifically dirt. And I'd say that because unlike a lot of the other communities in Skagit County, Mount Vernon remains connected to the farmland around it in ways that, perhaps even Burlington does not. And then also I say ground because Mount Vernon does have the space to welcome people, and it has been growing and getting bigger than the rest of the towns in our county. And that means that we've got 35,000 plus people to work with here, and the council has to represent all of them. So ground, dirt.
Thank you, Kevin. All right, Travis Alexander, one word you would use to describe what our city means to you.
Yes, I think it's a great question, whoever put this together. The one word I choose is resilient. We've had, major events such as, the bridge keeps having issues. There's been shootings, there have been drownings. We've had very positive events, but the community always seems to rebound, it's resilient. And I think that I'm one who actually watches CTV 10 a lot. And so I know that our government representatives who are here and have been here in the past, I believe, take action and they listen to the community and respond in a timely manner. So I would say that resilience represents this community well.
Excellent. Thank you, Travis. And next candidate will be Juan Morales. One word you would use to describe what our city means to you.
Certainly, thank you. The word that comes to mind, at least for me right now, is diversity. Like I mentioned in my opening statement, we are at the center point or the epicenter of whichever direction you want to take. You can be in a different place. You can be in the water, you can be in the mountains, you can be in the metropolis, you can be in a different country. But even more so than that, it's also changing, and that goes right in hand with diversity. I've only been around here for 25 years, but in those 25 years, I've seen constant change and change for the better, I believe. I still recognize that it's still a farming community, but even that's also changing. An example of that would be right where Walmart used to be. It's no longer a farm. And from what I remember, at least when I was 10 years old, I remember seeing farmland there. And so it is changing. To me, like I said, the word that comes to mind would have to be diversity.
Thank you, Juan. Navor Tercero, you are up next with one word you would use to describe what our city means to you.
Well, if I were to pick a word, it would be legacy. You know, I enjoy walking around the city, and my wife and my younger son and I like to walk on the Riverwalk as well. And always passing the tree that was brought here from Mount Vernon, Virginia, is always a real treat to see, as far as seeing our legacy tied to history. But understanding that in this position that we are all applying for, our fellow citizens are trusting us with the legacy that we will leave behind. And so legacy seems to be something that really defines how I see Mount Vernon.
Thank you, Navor. And next will be John.
I would probably use neighborhood. When we first came visiting here, we couldn't believe how friendly people were and helpful. Going to stores where people are actually engaged with you and trying to help you. It's this, everyone wants to be together. So let's end every word with community, but that was one for me. That also applies as well. So keep trying to tell my other kids that are still back in Wisconsin that they need to move here, because where else can you just walk downtown to see the stuff downtown from where you live? It's either down the street or drive away. There's stores everywhere. Anything you ever need is within 5 minutes. And yet it still has a small town feel to it, and it's wonderful. And the architecture of the older buildings downtown is intriguing. And I hope you'll be here for a long, long time.
Peter, you're muted again.
John, I think your microphone might be cutting in and out a little bit while you're talking. I think council was able to hear most of what you said, but maybe there's a fix for it. I'm not sure. So thank you for speaking slowly and clearly. I think they were able to hear that answer. And finally, Vicki, what one word would you use to describe what our city means to you?
Well, since Nabor already took it, I was going to say legacy as well. So I'm going to add an adjective to it and say diverse legacy. Mount Vernon has had an exceptional legacy of great leaders. Mayor Ruth Gidland was definitely ahead of her time. And our current mayor is also creating a legacy in Mount Vernon where we are serving a very diverse community. And I think that I would be honored to be part of that legacy that continues to create a caring and thriving community in Mount Vernon.
Thank you, Vicki. And we should take a running tally of how many times I forget to unmute. Our next question comes from Mayor Boudreau. Mayor Boudreau, go ahead with your question.
We're all being kind and gracious tonight, Peter. It's
I
just
appreciate
nice.
that.
Thank you. All right. So my question is, what motivated you to run for city council?
Okay, candidates. The order for this question will be Kevin, Navor, Juan, John, Vicky, Shelley, Melissa, and Travis. So Kevin Moss, you are up first, and I will remind you, the question is, what motivated you to run for city council?
Thank you, Mayor. I served on a number of nonprofit boards over the past few years. One of them is Skagitonia Reserve Farmland, which is mainly looking outside of town. But the other one was the Lincoln Theater Foundation, which is in a building owned by the city of Mount Vernon. I ended up being president of that board for almost 2 years. And through that process, learned about working with a group of people and also stakeholders that don't always agree. And that was an enjoyable experience. I enjoyed the other members of that board. And so when the opportunity to apply for the city council came up, I know it's not the Lincoln Theater, but I saw it as a chance to look at interesting topics with interesting people, and I thought I'd apply.
All right. Thanks, Kevin. Navor Tercero, what motivated you to run for council?
Well, my experience working on the high school football boosters club really impressed me with the dedication, the commitment of resident here, but especially in that case, working with people who wanted to see the success of our high school football team. My son actually was the running back for the previous playoff team that went to Mount Si there. And that was just a great group of kids to see work together as a team. And to see, their success wasn't just that 1 year. That was 10 years in the making. And so, great successful teams have to sometimes set aside ego, have to set aside, personal agendas and cooperate as a team. And so just seeing how exciting that is when it works out that way was great. And to see the behind the scenes of how that has to work with being on the booster club, it's not just the product that's out there on the field, it's also the people that are in a support situation. So that was just a great situation to be a part of. And
all right, thank you, Navor. Juan Morales, you are next. What was your motivation for wanting to run for city council?
Thank you. Well, first I would say that it's my hometown. It's a beautiful place to raise a family in. My parents saw that. And so I hope I get the chance to do that too with my partner, Viviana. Second, I feel a strong obligation to serve back to the same place that has given so much back to me. Lastly, quite honestly, I see some problems that are here. And truthfully, I've been at the mercy of those problems. I've grown tired of being at the receiving end of those problems. So I'm strongly motivated to take action and help bring some solutions to our home.
Okay, thank you, Juan. John, you're next. Your motivation for running for council?
Well, I'm always willing to help. And again, I felt that this would be the fastest way for me to learn about this community that I plan to stay probably for the rest of our lives. And I do have a lot to offer. I have perhaps an outside view on things, maybe a fresh viewpoint. One of my skills as a software engineer was coming up with creative solutions to old nagging problems. And I was very renowned for that. But mostly, I do see that we have things that could be done better around here. I do want to participate in that. I want to make things move forward and be a better, again, the neighborhood idea for everyone around here. I'm a very fair-minded person, and I like to balance all the information, come up with a solution that works best for everyone involved. And I hope I can be with you guys to help do that and for a long period. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Vicky Archer, what motivated you to run for city council?
Well, after I retired, which was just a couple months ago because of COVID, I decided it was time to redefine my muchness. And my daughters know me as a newsaholic, I guess. And I actually love watching the council meetings. They're congenial, mostly on topic, expedient, and you service a really diverse community. I would love being part of the legacy of serving the Mount Vernon community and hearing, respecting, and responding to the needs of the people in our community. We're facing a tough few months ahead. I'm a former business owner who experienced a downturn as a result of our last recession, and I would hope that we can jointly come up with solutions to solve a multitude of issues that we're looking at. And now that I'm retired, I have time and energy to give back to the community so it will continue to thrive and I'll find my muchness again.
Thanks, Vicki. Shelley Acero, what motivated you to run?
Well, I have served over the years on a number of boards and committees, and most recently, I suppose it would be 2019's Leadership Skagit. And then also I served 6 years on the Mount Vernon Planning Commission, where we discovered lots of ideas for land use issues and a variety of things that come across the city's plate, if you will. I have always thought that participating in your local government is a good way to be involved. As John said, it's something that I've been involved with for a long time. I truly do believe that I understand a lot of the pitfalls being on the operational side as well as understanding the legislative side. So I just want to have a greater experience to serve our community.
Great, thanks, Shelley. Melissa Holland, you're up next. Your motivation for running for council.
Well, I'd really like to feel more connected to the town. I would say that COVID is actually, of all the things, it's actually been positive on my side because I get to spend more time in this community rather than commuting down to Seattle. And that's going to continue for my job. So I really love working with a range of people that have different perspectives when the end goal is the same. So, you know, everyone on city council, they want what's best for the city. And I'm sure that we all come at it with different solutions based on our experiences. And I really look forward to working with people that have different experiences that I can learn from and that I can share what I know and, you know, kind of work together. I've always intended to serve some way in the city and in my neighborhood, and this just seems like the perfect time.
Thanks, Melissa. And before we go to Travis, thank you all to all the candidates for winding things up before the clock winds down. I hate to interrupt people. I don't want to have to do that. Travis Alexander, you are up next. What is your motivation for running for council?
I've been looking for the opportunity to serve in government. My experiences included, you know, HOA president. I've been a graduate student senator, and I'm currently a club advisor at Skagit Valley College, all volunteer positions. I see myself as a voice for the Eastern European and Latino populations who I believe are underserved. Nothing against, you know, current representatives. I think it's best, in my opinion, that every member brings something different. Diversity in the council membership is powerful. And, you know, really lastly, my motivation is not at all financial. I'm fortunate, especially right now, that I'd be willing to serve in this position without any stipend. And you know, I have no conflicts of interest, so I know that every decision I would make or weigh in on, I would do without, you know, a personal, professional weight on my, you know, mind. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Travis. So our third question comes from Councilmember Richard Brocksmith. Councilmember Brocksmith, your question.
Okay, just busy taking some notes here. And this is just a fantastic group of candidates. If there were 7 of you, we could just appoint each of you, and the rest of us could leave it to you because you all bring such a great diversity. I really appreciate the perspectives. My question is a short one, but it's a little deep. And I know we won't get to it all in a minute, but if you can soundbite the answer to what is your vision for the future of downtown Mount Vernon and the surrounding area?
Your vision for the future of downtown Mount Vernon and the surrounding area. And the candidate order for this question will be Travis, John, Juan, Vicky, Melissa, Kevin, Navor, Shelley. So Travis, you are first to answer this one. Again, what is your vision for the future of downtown Mount Vernon and the surrounding area? What next steps would you propose?
I second Richard's motion that 7 of us just get hired. Just kidding. My vision is that minimally, I'd like to see that businesses that we've already lost due to this pandemic, that possibly anything that we could do to bring them back. I just heard that Skagit Brewing is shut down. I don't know if it's temporary or permanent, but I love that place. And so I think minimally helping out those businesses that we've already lost, that have already contributed a lot to our community. And then going beyond the pandemic, because we'll always have hardships that we'll come back from. I believe I'd like to continue seeing the downtown area grow, supporting businesses there, supporting as a destination. I love the fairs that we have there, the art shop, the co-op, different entities. I like to see more educational events there. The farmers market's great. I'd like to see it grow. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Travis. John, your vision for downtown and the surrounding area.
Well, I would like to see a little bit more growth as far as getting more businesses down there. And I know that's going to be a challenge with parking as well. A lot of times people spend their time driving around looking for a parking spot, and it's just easier to go somewhere else. And I think we need to issues like that to try and feel of it be very welcoming and diverse with different kinds of businesses. It's not all just the same thing over and over. So people have reasons to come down and stay down there and wander around and go from shop to shop to shop and get a lot of things done. The surrounding area, I think, will follow suit once all this other is occurring. I think people will say, hey, this is a good place to be. Like my wife and I, we can just walk downtown, we're close, and that becomes kind of a draw for people to buy residences in the area, improve those residences, and help bring the community up a little bit.
Thanks, John. Juan Morales, your vision for downtown and the surrounding area.
Thank you. That's a really good question. So I would have to say that help bring more businesses in, find a way to attract them and so that they can stay. How to go about it, I'm not exactly sure, but I am more than willing to explore the ideas to get that done. One of the observations that I've seen around the downtown area is that I've seen quite a few law offices, and it makes sense because I do recognize that they have Superior Court down in that area, but there are quite a few law offices, and I'm not sure how that impacts other businesses that potentially could be there. More so, expansion. I also seen just right off the I-5 corridor on that exit right there on Kincaid that they have a new development going on. And I know there's a little bit of a soft medium because certainly going down Cleveland, there are homes. And so it's one of those things that one has to weigh to see if you can place more businesses, pushing them beyond the boundaries of the residential area.
Thank you, Juan. Vicky Archer, your vision for downtown and the surrounding area.
Well, John, you mentioned parking. I'm sure that if they went back on the city council minutes of probably 50 years, the word parking would come up probably 500, 600 times. That's always been an issue. I think that's a great one that you are addressing or speaking to. I think we need to look at homelessness and food insecurity, affordable housing. We can maybe do a better job collaborating with nonprofits and volunteers and citizens within the city support for our local schools, especially in this time. And I know that the city is working on new forms of technology. The riverfront is always exciting, plus all the activities that go on there. And the support of the businesses in the downtown corridor is so strategic and important.
Thank you, Vicki. Melissa, Holland, your vision for downtown and surrounding area.
Okay. Well, I envision a livable, walkable, bikeable downtown. I think that that means that the surrounding areas also need to be walkable and bikeable. I remember when the bridge went down and basically that's all you could do was walk and bike. And it was really difficult to get from the west side of Mount Vernon over to the Safeway grocery store. I mean, you had to be really careful not to get hit. And so I think that's something that I would like to focus on is, these corridor pathways for alternative ways to travel to get downtown. I also think downtown can really see more living, multifamily downtown, but while still preserving the character of the downtown that we have now, and the small businesses, diverse businesses with diverse shop owners.
All right, thank you, Melissa. Let's hear from Kevin Moss, your vision for downtown.
Someone who walks downtown almost every day and occasionally bikes too, walkability and bikeability is important, but what we need more than anything else downtown is people and people who live there. I know that the changes to the zoning code may lead to increased density around downtown. There's just not a ton of space, so we'll see what redevelopment happens with the ground that's there. But we just need people to live there, to go and to visit the businesses just because they're outside of their doors. I know that I always say you can be 10 years too early with a good idea, but when the condos finally start being built downtown, we will look back and say, well, of course people want to live there, but that's in the future. So,
thanks, Kevin. Navor Cicero, your vision for downtown Mount Vernon and the surrounding area.
I look to our north and see really what a great job Whatcom County did with Fairhaven and making that into a destination. And of course, some of what's already been mentioned, that was done with stores, or restaurants, businesses, but it was also done with residential zoning there as well. So exploring those types of ideas as far as how do we make downtown that destination, certainly promoting our farmers market and finding what other types of events or things that we could do down utilizing, what a beautiful space we have there on the Riverwalk. So finding those ways of promoting that so that we draw people to a destination.
All right. And finally, Shelly Acero, your vision for downtown Mount Vernon surrounding area.
Everybody has such great ideas. One of the things that's not always, but it's one of the things that bother me a lot is the lack of cohesiveness between downtown Mount Vernon, the west side, College Way, and Riverside. And I think that if there would be a way that we could figure out with our design standards how to incorporate more of a cohesiveness that would bring people in. I think there's some great opportunities that we have here to continue to instill green projects or sustainability with LED lights or the idea of those car stations that you can plug into from place to place. I love the idea of promoting bringing in people downtown, closing maybe the once a month sidewalks only for use for pedestrians on a Saturday or Sunday, one day a month, something like that. Just ideas to bring people in downtown.
Okay, thank you, candidates. We are moving on now to question 4. Question 4 is brought to you by Councilmember Mary Hudson's going to ask question number 4.
Yeah,
Mary.
first I have something to sell you, right?
Yeah.
My commercial, right. Okay, here's my question for you. If you received a $1 million grant to use for the city in any way you wanted, what would you use it for and why?
All right. $1 million question. The order for this question, candidates will be first Melissa, John, Shelley, Travis, Navor, Juan, Kevin, and Vicky. So the question again is you've got $1 million grant and you can use it any way you want for the city. What would you use it for and why? And again, we will start with Melissa.
Well, I would like to say some big infrastructure thing, but I know $1 million doesn't go very far. So that's a really tough question, and you want to spend it on everything. I think attracting small businesses would be a good one, and maybe that's, you know, acquiring some property and fixing it up, or subsidizing businesses to come to the area. I know there's some buildings downtown that are in really rough shape. I don't know if it's just an owner that doesn't want to sell, but you know, there are a few eyesores out there that, you know, if they were cleaned up, it would help tremendously. And having that smaller size shop space, I think, would enable more people to kind of an access in. I like what they do in Anacortes, where they, by the water, they have those very small businesses where you can, you know, try something out. So, thanks.
Thanks, Melissa. John, your idea with the $1 million grant.
Okay, I'm sure it's more of a rhetorical question because $1 million really doesn't go very far. But in the spirit of that, I would like to see that applied towards similar projects that the development is going on now that you were showing those slides earlier, where we can maybe develop lower housing or lower income housing downtown that people are there. And that kind of discussion's come up before. If you have people living down there, that will support businesses down there. It'll attract more and diverse businesses down there, and it'll continue to grow, and it'll continue to expand out further and further, improving on some of those maybe rundown buildings, as pointed out. Will be improved. People will be motivated to improve. Investors will come in and say, I want to invest in this because I can see that it's going in a positive direction. And I think even if this $1 million, it's a start.
All right. Thank you, John. Shelley Acero, you're next for the question of the $1 million grant to use any way you'd like for the city.
Well, I want to know if there was matching funds that the city would have to contribute towards it, or if it was just the $1 million grant given to us. John, I'm sorry, it was hard to hear some of your responses, so I hope I'm not repeating on that. But I like the idea of doing, you know, some pop-up businesses downtown where people who don't have the money to invest in buying a location or something like that, the city would be able to enable some of those. You know, Burlington right now is looking at a model from Walla Walla where we have some housing that's temporary housing for folks who are homeless, and look for ways in which we can figure out a way to help folks who are in need that way. It doesn't go a long way, but there's lots of opportunity to use it.
Okay, Shelley, thank you. And Travis, you are up next. $1 million question.
Yes, I have experience with grants, having been a graduate student researcher and postdoc for 5 years. So I know that one, collaboration is key to use of this money. So I would look to experts, you know, in our financial department, and I would look to other people before I spent a dime. I know that looking to my own relationship, before my wife, I wasted a lot of money, but once I had a partner who helped me use money correctly, I used it a lot more wisely. It went long-term versus short-term. Ideas that come to mind right now, I don't ever think you should spend $1 million with 2 minutes to think, but subsidies to bring back businesses, I think would be important. And to retain businesses that we have. I think investing to the degree that it makes sense in some sort of subsidy or housing project for students and homeless. I think those are two, let's say, populations that are underserved and could really help this community if they were helped.
Thanks, Travis. Navor Tercero, your response.
So in a past life, I was involved in Rotary, and we would invite different organizations from the county to come and share with us about where it is that we live. And the one thing that I've never forgotten was when the county came in and talked about the 100-year flood event. If and when that ever happens, we would be paralyzed here in Skagit County. And, you know, I think I would take that money and try to study either ways that we look at building another bridge, or, you know, we've seen what happened when our bridge was incapacitated and what it did to this area. And, you know, I really think that we need to sort of pay attention to those types of catastrophes that could happen and what it could do to this area.
Thanks, Navor. Juan Morales, you are up next.
Thank you for the question. So if I had $1 million, assuming it could all go smoothly, I would immediately try to use that money to help people during this pandemic. I think first and foremost, that is the #1 priority going on right now, given the circumstances that we have, using that money to provide resources, supplies, food, assistance. Imagining in a situation where if one has to hunker down for a 14-day period, just the mental stress that one has to go through and how they're going to get through the next 14 or so days, or even for businesses that are losing quite a bit of money during this time. If we didn't have the situation, I would use it towards housing. That's been a long-standing problem that not only Mount Vernon has had, but in the entire Western Washington. We know there's no supply, either anyone for looking to buy or anybody looking to rent. It's so severe that, quite honestly, I'm so concerned about it myself too.
Okay, thank you, Juan. Kevin, what would you do with your $1 million grant?
I would approach our friends at the county, and I would ask them to really look at how much parking they need downtown. And then they could think really hard about how coronavirus has impacted the county. And once they really thought about that, assuming there was a good faith effort to think about that, I would buy as many county parking lots in downtown Mount Vernon as I could afford with $1 million. And then I would hold a competition for housing developers to build the highest density, most sustainable, and most attractive housing on that parking lot or 2 parking lots, depending on what the county would part with, and then sell the parking lot to that developer, and you get the $1 million back over time.
Thank you, Kevin. And finally, the question goes to Vicki Archer.
Well, if somebody gave me $1 million grant, I definitely would want to collaborate with quite a few people to determine how I would spend it. However, a few ideas would be maybe looking at the fairgrounds that Skagit County owns. And if that piece of property were available to the city, wow, could we do some wonderful things in terms of housing and adding new businesses to the downtown corridor. I also agree that we need more affordable housing and food insecurities. I know that the maintenance team for the city of Mount Vernon is looking for a temporary shelter to do repairs. I would probably go for something like that as well.
Okay, thank you, Vicki. Candidates, that was question 4. We are halfway through these questions. You're doing well. The next question is going to be asked by Council Member Iris Carrillas. Iris, would you like to ask your question now?
Yes. Hi, everyone. Thank you again for applying for this position. We are really honored to have you, all of you, being interested to be part of our team. And my question for you is, coming from me, probably you are expecting my question. Can you tell us what do you know about the Latino community in Mount Vernon and how you would serve them?
Okay. Thank you, Council Member. So the question is, what do you know about the Latino community in Mount Vernon and how would you serve them? The order for the candidates to respond to this question will be first Vicky, then Juan, Shelley, Travis, Navor, Kevin, John, then Melissa. So we are starting off with Vicky Archer. Vicky, the question to you, can you tell us what you know about the Latino community in Mount Vernon and how you would serve them?
Iris, thank you. That's a great question. Having been born and raised in Mount Vernon, I have been around what used to be known in Skagit Valley as the migrant workers who moved here during the summer and stood side by side with us as we picked strawberries in the fields and so on. And as that group of wonderful people started to immigrate to our city and county and populate our schools, I think that we are better for it. You show us how to work hard, and you have a spirit of joyfulness, which it never ceases to underestimate me, even in the harshest of conditions. I appreciate the Latino community.
Thank you, Vicky. The same question now to Juan Morales.
Thank you. What do I know about the Latino community? Well, for one, I am a Mexican American. I come from a Latino background myself. So not to say that I know a lot, but I think it's a pretty good start. More specifically, I know that the city of Mount Vernon has a 35.2% Hispanic population. Since Councilmember Idias has joined the city council, that only accounts to a 14% representation. Doesn't really compare to the 35% population that this city currently has. So I know that there's underrepresentation going on. More so, I know sort of the breakdown. I know there's a big Mexican American population, as well as a Mixteco and Triqui population. I know the problems that they are facing. I know that some of the problems that are going on is multi-generational extended family levels in single home houses or apartments. And it goes back to one of those things, housing affordability and no supply, like I mentioned before.
Thank you, Juan. The question now to Shelley Acero. Do you know about the Latino community in Mount Vernon and how would you serve them?
Yeah, that is a great question. I don't know as much as I should. I'll put it that way. I do know that they are an underserved population. I do know that they are a large percentage of our population here in Mount Vernon. I think there's things that we can do. I believe that they're hungry to participate in local government, but they maybe don't know how or feel somehow that they don't have an avenue in. I think there's things we can do with flyers, newsletters, converting those into Spanish. I don't know if our city agendas or our council minutes are done in Spanish, but maybe that's something we could look at so that they could be feeling like they are able to understand and participate in that as well. But that's a community that I need to find out more about.
Thank you, Shelley. Travis Alexander, the same question to you.
Yes. I'm not Latino, but I don't think you need to be to, care. I did grow up, I was raised by a migrant mother and she had 7 children. So that's why I'm fluent in Spanish. And maybe you could say a part of my heart goes out to that community. I know they're very important and vibrant. I know they're more than the agricultural backbone. We've talked about farms so far, but rarely do individuals talk about the workers on those farms. They're also lawyers, they're civil servants, officers, business owners. I think what's key, again, going back to you don't have to be a Latino to serve them. I think key is inviting key important figures in the Latino community to a council session and asking them to tell us what are the concerns that they have, and not to assume that these are concerns for them and act for them, given what a fellow candidate said is that they're underrepresented as it is. So let's hear from them and then respond.
Thank you, Travis. Navor Tercero.
So, when I was asked to pick a word to describe Mount Vernon, I picked legacy. And, the Latino community is part of that legacy that's so important to, and what makes us such a great community. And it does my heart so much good to hear Juan talk about he and his family settling here, after living all around the country, and they picked Mount Vernon. And like so many other people who have come here and settled in Mount Vernon, picked it because of what a great community it is. When I was involved with the Mount Vernon Chamber of Commerce years ago, Kristen Whitener and I put together a team that we did a survey of a lot of the Spanish-speaking community. And it was interesting that when people invited Spanish-speaking business owners to the chamber, these business owners had a very different idea of what the chamber is. And I think overcoming that gap in culture, that gap in sort of misunderstanding of what that is as a resource is very important. So,
thanks, Navor. Kevin Moss, same question.
So, when my wife and I bought our house, we settled next to an apartment complex that had dozens of Latino families, and several years later, that apartment complex was redeveloped, and those dozens of families were pushed out as part of that process. That was sort of the formative experience in what understanding and limited understanding I have of the Latino community, which is affordable housing is really what we need in Mount Vernon to start serving the Latino community better. Beyond that, if I were to end up on the council, I would say that I would commit to reaching out to community action and trying to understand what they are hearing from their Latino Advisory Council, and go from there and learning what the community needs.
Thank you, Kevin. John, you're next with this question.
Okay, let's hope my microphone works a little better this time. Only being here for a year and a half, most of which was under lockdown, basically, I don't have a lot of exposure or understanding of the community here. As a Ward 1 council representative, I would need to be going out on the street and asking all of my neighbors and members of my community their opinions about what the government is doing for them. And I would pose bits of information, those wish lists, the council as the representative, and balance it out with the overall community goals, but their interests as well, because I would be representing them. So I know there's quite a few Latino families around here. I can see them. It's just I haven't been able to go up and shake their hands yet. So I would definitely go out on the road in my area and get to know all their concerns and what their wishes are for this community.
Great. Thank you, John. John, your microphone connection started off strong and then it sort of faded there. I think we got most of what you were saying. I don't know if there's an adjustment that can be made, but I think we're able to hear you, and council will ask to clarify if they need clarification.
I'm the same, Peter. It fades after you start. I'm able to make out everything you're saying. So just to share.
Thanks, Councilmember Brocksmith. Melissa, the question to you finally, what do you know about the Latino community in Mount Vernon, and how would you serve them?
Well, my friends and my neighbors are Latino, but I can't say that I really know much. I don't know the experience. My personal experiences, doesn't compare to somebody who that is experiencing something for themselves. What I do recall is back in 2009 in downtown the big uproar about having a Mexican restaurant downtown, and it was very clearly seen as a racist move. I mean, a lot of people in the town thought the fact that the mayor at that time wanted to not allow one, it was a big deal, and it kind of opened up my eyes to the fact that there is a lot of racism in the town, and what can we do to have more access. And I think a lot of has been said already by many people, you know, having ambassadors to, you know, connect people such as myself with the Latino community so I can understand, you know, more of their experience.
All right. Thank you, Melissa, and thank you to all the candidates for answering question number 5. And we're moving on to question 6 now, and question 6 will be asked by Mayor Boudreau.
All right, this is just wonderful. Thank you for all your participation. All right, my question is, have you watched any city council meetings recently? And what topics did you find the most interesting to learn about?
All right. You watched city council meetings, and what topics stuck out to you? And this is the order, candidates, that you will respond in. First will be John, then Shelley, Travis, Juan, Melissa, Kevin, Vicky, and Navor. So we're going first to John. And the question again, have you watched any city council meetings recently, and what topics did you find the most interesting to learn about?
Well, I tried a new setting here on my microphone, so we'll see if that helps. I have not seen any of the video versions, but we did attend a few of them live in person when COVID hit. And going back to those, I was remembering the same kind of conversations that have been going over and over in this discussion as well. The lack of affordable housing. One of the meetings where they were talking about parking issues. And those did stick out in my mind because I personally have been impacted by them. I have noticed going downtown, if I'm driving through it, well, I really don't have a good place to park here. I want to go visit that. Well, we'll go home, then we'll walk. But that's not an option for everybody. So that's where that topic was of interest to me. The affordable housing idea, definitely. When I talk to my youngest daughter about moving out here and what the rental rates are, it's kind of out of the picture for her.
All right, thank you, John. Shelley Acero, same question to you.
Yes, I have watched the council Zoom meetings, and there's always interesting things for me on there. Working for a sister city, a lot of the same topics come up, but clearly the idea of severe weather shelters and the safe parking facilities were, especially during this time, especially during still struggling with COVID. I think that there's some real issues there with folks who are homeless, not having a place to be, getting church involvement or private-public partnerships with that. Those are some of the things that interest me. Certainly CARES funding on how those dollars are being spent. Limited temporary homeless camps, all those type of things are of interest to me.
Thank you, Shelley. Travis Alexander, topics of interest from recent city council meetings.
Yes, I've watched CCTV, not just our local government, but I actually like to watch House of Representatives and Senators in DC, which probably my peers wonder why the heck I watch it, but I find it fascinating. Not necessarily recent topics, but items that come to mind were, discussion of the homeless shelter, homeless weather shelters. There was the purchase of, I think, of an ambulance. I think, that are kind of items that city council could really help with. And then I really like the recent discussion in general about COVID-19 response. I think we've all heard about the council members' experience in Idaho that made national news. And so I like to see when representatives stick up for their beliefs and whatever the outcome is, they do their job.
Thank you, Travis. Juan Morales, same question to you.
Thank you. I have seen some of the recent meetings. I've seen things on project updates, updates on the Parks Department, the selling of city vehicles on an auction. But the one that's been most important to me has been housing and homelessness, which are tied in pretty well. Like I've mentioned, not just in the city or the county, but all across Western Washington, it's been a pretty big issue. Housing has been getting out of reach. Affordability is getting well out of reach. And then just uniquely to Mount Vernon, there just really hasn't been a lot of supply. And I understand that there's wetlands to consider, farmlands to consider, but looking long-term down the road, I do see that it could be even a bigger problem, more than it already is right now currently. And right now currently it still is a big problem. But it's one of those things that those are one of the topics that I do find most interesting and I would love to learn more about.
Thanks, Juan. Melissa Holland, you are next with the same question.
Well, I have to admit that I've watched no Zoom meetings. I do have a bit of Zoom fatigue, not now, but I'm on it a lot. But I often read the letters from what's being talked about. My husband's on the planning commission, so I talked to him a lot about what's going on with planning. I actually was in school. I was also focused on planning, and so that's dear to my heart. So anytime there's new construction going on, that I'm very interested in it. And so those are the things that are interesting. Other people have said, the severe weather housing for homeless. I think that's very important. And of course, affordable housing just in general, very important to the city.
All right, thank you, Melissa. And the same question now goes to Kevin Moss.
I have not watched any Zoom city council meetings. I don't think I have been to any city meetings since about a year ago. I think I came and commented to the Planning Commission about the city's affordable housing code revision. Mrs. Sarah was chairing that meeting, but and then before that, before that, there wasn't Zoom city council meetings, so I didn't watch them. I would have just had to attend them, which I probably did maybe once a year for one reason or another. So I cede my time.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. Vicki Archer, council meetings and topics that stood out to you.
I have watched the Zoom meetings, and there's several things that I've really found quite interesting and enlightening. The whole budget process was remarkable to me. I felt the way in which the CARES funding was distributed and reported on weekly or bi-weekly has been really remarkable. And I commend Mayor Boudreau for staying on top of that and keeping everyone informed as to how it's being handed out. Also, the cold weather shelter discussions have been very enlightening to me as well.
Great, thank you, Vicki. Navor Tercero, same question.
Yeah, unfortunately, I have not seen any of the Zoom meetings, but just like to comment real quickly on the part of the meeting that was occurring before we had these interviews about participation down in Olympia, working with our senators and representatives down there. That's certainly something that would interest me a lot. And it's nice to see that our city council is on top of that as far as how we coordinate to bring dollars into Mount Vernon.
Thank you, Navor. Thank you, candidates. We're moving on now to question number 7. And Councilmember Melissa Beaton is going to ask question number 7. Councilmember Beaton.
Thank you, Peter. Wow, you guys are doing a fantastic job. I'm so proud to be going through this process with you. Here is my question. A majority of Mount Vernon voters voted in favor of a $30 million fire infrastructure bond in 2019 that would have rebuilt Fire Station 1 and updated Stations 2 and 3. The bond received 51% of the vote, but needed 60% to pass. How do you believe the city should proceed in its efforts to address this urgent need?
All right. Thank you, Councilmember Beaton. Candidates, no big deal. Just wanting you to solve a major budgetary and infrastructure issue for us. Here is the order that the candidates will respond to Councilmember Beaton's question. Navor will be first, then Travis, Melissa, Shelley, Vicky, Juan, John, then Kevin. So the question to Navor, how do you believe the city should proceed in its efforts to address this urgent need of fire infrastructure?
So I believe that if we weren't able to achieve the 60% threshold that was needed to pass the bond, maybe the possibility is break this project up into smaller bite-size proposals and go back to the public and say, you know, this is what we need for firehouse number one. This is what we need to do these other modifications to our other two firehouses, and see if that's a way that we can win the approval that's needed by maybe making smaller, manageable proposals to have the public consider.
Good, thanks, Navor. Travis Alexander, same question to you.
Yes. So 51% approved, but need 60 to pass. I think one, it's important to respect, you know, the citizens' decision. At the same time, I think it'd be important to do something like surveying to see if the citizens are educated on the matter. Maybe they just didn't really understand the full value and impact. Often when you just mention the word bonds and taxes, people have a negative reaction, but they don't fully understand that you need taxes to, you know, pay individuals, have streets, have officers, have a, you know, vibrant city. So I want to first ensure that everyone was fully educated. And then if they were, I like the idea of maybe breaking apart the legislation that was put forward already and seeing if we can come up with a smaller number and approach the issue stepwise. I think education is first step.
Thank you, Travis. Melissa, Holland, your solution or suggestion for the fire infrastructure?
This is something that I do in my my work. You know, for school bonds, it's definitely something that we deal with. And looking at what's happening now with COVID, we don't anticipate any bonds passing in the next few years because you know, everyone has been so hard hit financially. But I agree with Travis in that education is the most important element for passing a bond. And so what that means is, do people know the extent of what is going to be done and why? And that could be, you know, postcards in the mail, and a lot of upfront planning. So you can, when you say something is going to be $30 million, what are you going to get with that $30 million? Because sometimes you're not able to deliver on everything that you promise. And that is the issue for a lot of people when they, you know, agree for the bond and then they see that they didn't get back what they thought they were going to get.
Thank you, Melissa. Same question to you, Shelley Estero.
Hi. Yeah, I do agree that you have to listen to the citizens. There's the 51%, so over half for the majority, but you need the 60%. Sometimes it's just the wording in the issue that goes forward. To me, there's a difference between forced taxation on citizens and going out for a bond where the citizens actually are putting their vote in as far as being in favor of it or not in favor of it. It sounds like they want it and they understand it. I know our capital improvement project, we talked about that a lot in the planning commission meetings as far as our fire infrastructure for our buildings and so forth. So I would say I like Navor's idea. Maybe put it in bite-sized pieces where they are willing to go for a little bit. I think people are almost always willing to pay for essential services over something that's maybe not necessarily needed but wanted. So that's my idea.
Okay, thank you. Question now goes to Vicky Archer. Your suggestions for the fire infrastructure.
Well, not too long ago, I think I was given a $1 million grant. And so if I use that, that might help. That being said, we do have a fiscal responsibility to the community. And I think that right now is not the time to be asking the community how we would proceed on this issue. I think the time and place is a little bit farther down the road, but that doesn't mean a good collaborative process couldn't be put in place so that when the time was right, the council could move forward. I also like the idea of bite-sized chunks. I think that is an easier way to sell something.
Thank you, Vicky. Juan Morales.
Thank you. So the first time that I heard about this issue was actually in 2018 when I attended one of the council meetings. So I understand that this budgetary problem that the current council has is not a creation of your own, because it was passed down because nothing was done in the past. And so now this thing has gotten bigger. If nothing's done something soon or down the road, it's actually going to get bigger for the next council body that will be in there in the future. But 60% was needed, and it didn't get there. The citizens saw it. They didn't see the tax increase on property owners would have been a good idea. And then so given the current circumstances that we have now, other priorities have actually taken on top of that. But if the council wanted a focus on this down the road, I would say engagement would be the #1 strategy in trying to get this passed. Voter turnout is usually somewhat low. It wasn't this past election, but it has been in the past. So I'm assuming in 2019, voter turnout was still low. If you can get engagement, you can get your 60% threshold if you guys want to move in that direction.
Thank you, Juan. John Wallig, same question to you.
Microphone better than last time?
So far.
Okay, good. It's been said a couple times already, but I think education is the biggest issue here. If people don't have all of the information, what is it exactly that we're trying to accomplish? What is the benefit of what we're doing or what we want to do? And then the converse of that, if we don't do this, what is the drawback? What will the bad things that are about to happen on the road? And once people have enough information, they can make a balanced judgment. I think if we can be assured that we've got the information out there, and then when it comes time for the voting, times of the mail-in voting ballots that we get, the information is a little convoluted and it's not very formative, and it sounds like it's a double negative. Well, do I want to do this? I'm not sure if I want to do this. We have to make it very clear so that people can make a very educated choice.
Thank you, John. And if I had $1 million grant, I would buy the city some microphones for all of its candidates. I think we're able to hear you, John. Thank you. Kevin, your thoughts on the fire infrastructure one?
Well, with apologies to our firefighters who live in a fire station that could fall over in an earthquake, fire stations don't put out fires, water does. And so there are ways that we can encourage sprinklers, whether that's a 2 to 3 year code revision process that would require sprinklers in new houses. That would be kind of a stick, or maybe even a carrot, where remodel projects would get a reverse impact fee rather than having to pay a fire impact fee. They would maybe get $1,000 towards sprinklers. If you look at 30 million bucks spread out over the 15,000 housing units, I mean, it's a couple $1,000s per housing unit. If people don't want to vote for fire stations, they will at least vote for life-saving sprinklers, or they will just get them through the code.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. And we are moving on to our 8th and final question. And the 8th question will be asked by Councilmember Mark Holst. Councilmember Holst.
Well, good evening, and thank you for everybody, or to everybody, for participating this evening. It's been very informative to hear some different perspectives on all the issues. Speaking of the issues, of all the issues that city government is facing, which one are you most passionate about and why?
All right. So the question to the candidates: what city issue are you most passionate about? Here's the order that the candidates will respond in. Juan, you are first this time, then Shelley, Vicky, Travis, John, Melissa, Kevin, and Navor. So Juan, Councilmember Hulst's question to you and the other candidates: of all the issues facing city government, which ones are you most passionate about?
Thank you. I would have to say that the issue most passionate that I am about is definitely housing. I've seen that that's been one of the biggest problems for many, many years. I've seen, like I mentioned before, several, let's say, extended families crowded into 2-bedroom apartments or even houses. It's not livable. It's not sustainable. And given the situation that we have with the pandemic, I am more than certain that this pandemic is actually going to aggravate this problem that we've already had for a very long time. That's one of the reasons why we've seen a spike in in coronavirus cases, because you have family members infecting one another within the same household. And so that actually, it explains why there's been a spike in the virus cases from the Hispanic community here in Mount Vernon. That exact issue as a housing. Thank you.
Thank you, Juan. Shelley Acero, same question to you.
I would be highly surprised if anybody had a response other than affordable housing or housing issues. So I think that I'm going to at least say that I think that that's something we're all passionate about, but I'm also equally passionate about a sound financial government. And I think that we need to make sure that we are doing the citizens the very best that we can by making sure that we're watching our budget, we're watching what we're spending, we're watching our revenues, we're just everything that goes into the city council purview as far as watching our budget. I think that that's one of the best things that we can do for our citizens, is making sure that we have a strong, firm financial footing in the city.
Okay, thank you, Shelley. Vicky Archer, what city topic are you most passionate about?
During the last recession, I owned a business, a flourishing business, and experienced a severe downturn. And the heartbreak of having to lay off my employees was almost more than I could bear. And so an issue that I am concerned about is homelessness and the housing issue as well. And I think we are in for an onslaught of homelessness in the county. It tears my heart, and there but for the grace of God and many friends go I.
Thank you, Vicky. Travis Alexander, of the issues facing city government, which are you most passionate about?
Yeah, so I would say not necessarily the most important short term, but I'm most passionate about affordable housing. I believe it's key. Having affordable housing is key to having sustained growth. It's key to maintain the diversity that we have already. I've seen, if you look to, I think, Vancouver, BC, it's a beautiful downtown, but it's often when I go, it's silent. No one, not many people can afford to live there, and those that can usually don't live there most of the year. So I'd want a community where people are active. I want, with legacy, I want people who grew up here, I want those generations to continue, not to have 6th generation having to move away because they can no longer afford to be here. And I think that all leads to being attractive for investments. So I think housing is key, and also because I think there are solutions. It's not just an important issue that we can't solve.
Thank you, Travis. Same question to you, John Wallig.
Well, it's amazing to see the common threads in a lot of the responses. And unfortunately, I have the same ideas in my head as well. Perhaps one overriding one for me is fiscal responsibility. Everything that comes to the council, everything is a good idea, but we have to think about, we can't just do everything. We don't have to think about the fiscal responsibility that the way I approach things in this situation would be, as if it was my money. You know, is this a good deal paying $3 million for this thing? I wouldn't do that with my money. Why would I do it with someone else's? I think if we focus on all these very great ideas, we also have to be fiscally responsible to our constituents.
All right, thank you, John. Melissa, Holland, which city topic are you most passionate about?
Well, I guess I fall in line because I think I think affordable housing is the most important thing. I think we'll achieve that by having higher densities and really smaller living spaces, because that's how we will make it affordable. I think when we do this, we have to make sure that it's well built so that it will stand the test of time. That affordable housing still looks nice in 10 years, 15, 30 years down the road, so that the character of our town, we stay proud of it. And so I worry about really having something really developer-led, that just because we're afraid of not having enough affordable housing, I really think we need to work together with developers to have housing that is really well built. That's the most important thing.
All right, thank you, Melissa. The question now goes to Kevin Moss.
Housing, but I would say sustainable housing. If I was on the council, and recognizing that the code revision process takes forever, I would be focused on how people can live in housing that doesn't require as many cars. Cars cost people a lot of money. That hurts affordability for their housing too. Is there ways that we can end up with communities that don't require 2 parking places per house, or 2-car garage per house? Can we get back to the infill housing focus? That's the kind of housing I want to focus on: affordable, but also sustainable.
Thanks, Kevin. And finally, to Nabor Tercero, the city government issue that you're most passionate about.
I know those of you who've had a chance to see my resume or my experience know that I've been involved with the Washington State Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, the Washington Latino Business Association. And so economic development is something that I'm passionate about, especially as a small business owner. I know that coming out of this pandemic, we need to position ourselves as a city, as a place where we attract employers, where we bring in higher paying jobs, where we do better outreach to the Spanish speaking community, allowing them to see the resources that we have here in the county to help them grow their own businesses and become part of the mainstream business community as well. And so economic development is something that I'm passionate about. And I can see that as we do build the legacy of what we're going to leave behind, hopefully one day we can be an example to the rest of the state of what a city can do.
Thank you, Navora. Thank you to all of the candidates for your responses through those 8 questions. That is the end of our question and answer period. And candidates, you now will have 30 seconds each for closing remarks. And as I said before, we will do this in reverse alphabetical order, and we're going to begin with John Wallig.
Finally, all my life was the last one. I don't envy your job trying to select one of us. But if we can't all be selected, perhaps we could be selected as an advisory subcommittee that we could all get together and help you guys out. I would like to say that I would definitely enjoy working with all of you. And I would do my very best to bring a logical and fair-minded viewpoint and sometimes perhaps unconventional ideas. So thank you for your time.
It would be a strong committee. Thank you, John, and thanks for your participation tonight. Navor Tercero, closing remarks.
Well, just like John said there, it has been just a treat to be asked to interview for this position. And again, I don't envy any of you for having to go through all of these interviews and select somebody. Again, you know, just thinking about growing up in Virginia, I'm a transplant here from the East Coast, and knowing about Mount Vernon, Virginia, and thinking about Mount Vernon, Washington, and just the legacy that we can all work for to leave something better behind.
Thanks, Navor. Thank you for being here tonight as well. Juan Morales, closing remarks.
Thank you. Conclusively, I simply want to thank my family, my beautiful partner, friends, and others that I know for their advice and support in helping me pursue this endeavor. I also want to thank City Council for your irreplaceable time, and I sincerely wish you the best of luck in choosing a candidate that I know when you guys do choose somebody will best serve the city of Mount Vernon and everybody that's in it. Thank you.
Thanks for being here tonight, Juan. Kevin Moss, your closing remarks.
It's a little odd to say this during a pandemic when we're talking on Zoom, but I think that Mount Vernon is at a great spot for the future. And if I were to end up on the council, who knows? Maybe in 10 years we'll look back and say, "Boy, 2020, that was when we really were building and set the foundation for everything in 2030." That's so wonderful.
Thank you, Kevin. It's the first time I've heard someone say that we'd look back on 2020 fondly. Thank you for being here tonight and for participating. Melissa Holland, your closing remarks.
Well, I agree with Kevin in that I think that Mount Vernon is really at a turning point, and it would be very exciting to be able to play a role and to be involved in the changes that we all know are happening. And I think it's been really fun being part of this, and I think any one of us would be an excellent candidate, and I've enjoyed hearing everyone's answers to these questions, wishing that some of them I'd said myself. So anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you, Melissa. Vicki Archer, your closing remarks.
Well, I want to thank the council for allowing me to participate in these interviews. And also, I want to compliment the city on the professionalism and the expediency of the staff in conducting the search for the open position. Peter, you've done a remarkable job, and you'll always get back to us ASAP when we send you an email. What a wealth of ideas this evening. I'm so humbled and honored to be included. I want to express my heartfelt wishes and good health to the councilwoman whose seat was left vacant by her illness. Also, I want to wish you all a Merry Christmas, and I hope a healthy and happy New Year for all of us is ahead.
Thank you, Vicki. Travis Alexander, your closing remarks.
Yes, thank you. Again, I'd like to thank the staff who helped organize this event, the Unsung Heroes. I would love to serve on this council. You guys, from my perspective, have done an amazing job. And the mayor, I fully support you. I believe something that I bring to the table is I'm respectfully from a different demographic, and I think that'd be key to me making the government more attractable, sexier, more involvement. 17% of the vote for the presidential election was from my demographic, and so I think that will be key going forward, and I just appreciate everyone's time. Thank you.
Thank you, Travis, and thanks for being with us tonight. And Shelley Acero, your closing comments.
Well, I just want to thank council and mayor for holding this candidate forum tonight. And I know that these are really uncertain times, but the one thing that I am certain of is that Mount Vernon is a great place to work and live. And I think it offers a lot of opportunities. And I think that as far as myself, I would bring a balanced, conservative approach to city council. I don't know about sexy, but I'll do my best.
All right. Thank you, Shelley. And that concludes our Mount Vernon City Council candidate forum tonight for the position of Ward 1 council member. On behalf of Mayor Boudreau and city council members, I would like to thank each of you, each one of our candidates tonight, again, for taking this brave and courageous step forward to serve the city. Group interviews are a difficult format for candidates, and we've sort of added to that challenge by making this a Zoom interview, and then we invited the entire city to watch live. So you've all done exceptionally well under these unique circumstances, and we really appreciate you being here tonight. City Council now has their work cut out for them as they consider these candidates and their qualifications to serve as the next Ward 1 representative. As I mentioned earlier, there's no established timeline for a selection to happen. However, I know that City Council would like to make a decision as soon as possible, and so I commit to prompt communication with each of you as those developments sort of unfold. So thank you again, and Mayor, I believe that is all for item C on tonight's agenda.
Okay, so before we move on, I'm going to give council a chance if they'd like to say something before we thank the candidates. But before they do, I just want to say, you know, tonight is almost a little emotional. Vicki, thank you for acknowledging Councilmember Moberg. Appreciate that. You know, but in these days of the national narrative and the dehumanization of elected officials on either side of whatever political spectrum, you know, I'd like to remind the city that city council positions are nonpartisan. There is really nothing partisan about serving our community, and quite frankly, on a federal level, there shouldn't be anything partisan either. But you know, the council members that serve the city now and currently, it's an honor to serve with them because we are incredibly collaborative, respectful, and really have the community in our hearts when we make decisions. Yes, we can disagree and we can have come at things from different perspectives, but you know, this is an example for others to follow, the group that I serve with, so I can't be more grateful for that. And to listen to all of the candidates tonight, my heart is full, and I hope that the community feels that as well, that there are people that want to serve. They want to put the best interest of our community at heart and make decisions for the benefit. So I'm just blown away, and I want to thank you all candidates. I have all of your names, so whether you're appointed or not, there will be opportunities to serve. So with that, though, I wanted to open it up to other council members if they'd like to say anything before we move on to the next agenda item. So council.
I'd just start off by saying, again, I really appreciate all of the candidates that came forward. You all did a wonderful job. We're going to have some tough decisions ahead of us. None of you have anything to be ashamed of. You'd all make a great council member. So I'm really pleased with the group that we have to select from, and our job is going to be tough. But thank you again for being here.
I will go ahead and say I agree with Mark 100%. Thank you so much for your courage to come forward and put yourself out for a position like this. It is the most rewarding thing, I think one of the most rewarding things I've ever done. And I love being on the council. You are all awesome candidates, and it's been really fun listening to the answers. And the $1 million question, yeah, let's go with the $1 million question. And I thank you again for just putting yourself out there and taking a couple hours of your night to answer some pretty interesting questions, I'd have to say. So thank you again very much.
Right. Any other council members want to make some remarks?
Well, I think Peter's probably leaving the city and headed to take over the meetings when we have presidential elections. I appreciate all you did tonight and keeping things on track, and just it was a wonderful session. A lot of great ideas out there, and I appreciate everyone coming and wanting to be a part of this city. So thank you.
All right.
Okay, I'm just gonna chime in and just say I am I feel very grateful for this opportunity to get to know each and every one of you a little bit more, and thank you so much. My heart is full as well. Thank you.
I just want to say thank you, all of you, for participating in this forum. I don't have any doubt about the qualifications all of you have and the desire to serve our community. And as a member in the Ward 1 I represent, I just want to say humble to you and honor being part of this community and be part of the Ward 1. And please count on me wherever you want going to be my partner in this position. And we are just a team, and let's get work for the good of the and benefit for our community. Thank you for participating, and thank you for all your love and passion for the community and citizens.
All right, any other council remarks before we move on? All right, then thank you. That will conclude our agenda item C. So participants, you're invited to hang on, but we're really going to be moving on. So you're welcome to sign off, and then we'll certainly be in touch as council moves forward in the process. So thank you again. All right, item D tonight for the agenda is for the good of the order. Just for council, we will be asking to adjourn into executive session after we're done tonight. And that's about all I had to share. I kind of talked about legislative priorities earlier. So any other questions from council? Okay, then that concludes our agenda items. I'll ask our city attorney about the need to adjourn into executive session. Kevin.
Yes, Mayor, I'd invite members of City Council to enter into an executive session for a period of 30 minutes to discuss qualifications of a candidate for appointment to elective office. However, final action appointing such candidate to elective office shall be in an open public meeting pursuant to RCW 423110 subsection 1H, and to consider the minimum price at which real estate will be offered for sale or lease when public knowledge regarding such consideration would cause a likelihood of decreased price. No final action shall be taken until such action can be taken in a meeting open to the public, RCW 423110 subsection 1C, and the council may take final action following the executive session.
All right, then with that, we'll go ahead and adjourn into executive session at 8:07. I'll ask council to take a 5-minute break before we reconvene, and then TV 10 to do their thing. So thank you again for Peter for an outstanding facilitation of a forum. We'll adjourn into exec session.
Nice job, Peter.
I agree. You were money.